Jess, I can see you looking pretty sad there. You're going to
I
miss me, aren't you?
know.
You're going to miss
I
me, aren't you?
know. Yes. This has been great. This has been so good. I mean, it's the next best thing to actually being out on the field is get to talk about it.
Well, I thought you like just sort of talking to me. You know. Okay, good start. I'll remember that. In the meantime, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. Yes, welcome to the big finale. This is it after we've had games in all formats and we've been there all the way through. Hasn't it gone fast, Jess? This is our last show, but it seems like months ago in some ways, but only yesterday that we had that preview show with you and Megan.
I know, it's like I sort of wonder where the time's gone. It almost only feels like yesterday that, yeah, like you said, we were talking about the start of the series, and here we are. The series is now officially over.
It is, and in a way, I guess the last match, it kind of had a bit of a dead rubber feel to it in a way, didn't it? It wasn't the same kind of excitement as it was while the series was live, which is a bit of a shame, but I guess that's to be expected. But it's just a bit of a shame that it didn't go down to the wire. I would have loved it to have gone down to the last couple of overs of the last T20.
Yeah, I mean, you look at last night's game and how tight that ended up, and you sort of expected much of the same tonight. And yeah, it's sort of even though within our Australian camp we never see any game as a dead rubber. It's always you've always got something to try and gain out of it. But yeah, it's just unfortunate there was a bit of that vibe around, and I don't know whether it was a matter of that it was set up by some pretty sort of mediocre fielding by the Indian side that sort of rubs off then on how the game sort of ended up being. But yeah, it's sort of, I mean, to for India to lose by 14 runs, it felt a lot further away than that. But I think some really good late order hitting by Richard Gosh again, who knows if there was an extra over, she could have potentially got them over the line.
Yeah, that was sensational from her right at the end. Now, if you're joining us live, do remember you can pop in a question or a comment into the live chat, and we'll try and get some. Hello to everyone who's joining. A question from Rahul. Now, let's see if I get this. Gopalakrishnan. Rahul Gopalakrishnan. I hope I got that right. Did India leave it too late for chasing down the score? They were behind the whole game. Was the bowling too good or the pitch tricky? Or this was just extra 20 runs scored by the Aussies, which mattered.
Well, I
Like
actually, yeah. Well,
oh,
I
I was
actually
just going
think
to
when
say,
we talk about those extra 20 runs, that's India's fielding for you. Dived over at least four or five balls that ended up going for multiple runs, and in a T20 game that really adds up. And I think there was multiple factors like in that question. There's sort of three parts to it. That I believe yes, India left it slightly too late. I think in terms of that Jemmy Rodriguez and the Smriti Mandana partnership, I would have liked to see Jemmy go a little bit sooner than she did. And we sort of saw Smriti was struggling right from the beginning, but then picked it up with a few boundaries, but then struggled again. So she sort of found it quite difficult tonight to get her timing. And I think that was because the pitch was playing much slower. We think that it was the third T20 played on that. Admittedly, the first T20 only had 15 overs played, but the exact same pitch was used for those three T20 games, and such a quick turnaround between last night's game and tonight's game that I think that actually played a part. But yeah, I think more than anything, it was probably India's fielding that really cost them the game.
yeah, and that's been a theme, I think you'd have to say, throughout the entire series. So it's a real difference between the
Yes,
two sides, isn't it?
frustratingly so. Because yeah, I think even we saw some uncharacteristic fielding from the Australian team sort of early on in the series as well. But during this T20 component, they really sort of turned it on and showed why I guess we're the best team in the world. And you sort of, I think as a team, we really pride ourselves on that ability to make a difference in the field, because ultimately a lot of T20 games are decided by less than 10 runs, and if you can save a handful and sort of not concede too many, then you're always sort of already ahead of the game in that sense, that it's a couple of less runs you have to try and make up with the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of comments coming in. Here's one for you, Jess. Just a comment. Oh, it's just gone down. Ooh, wait, I'll just have to scroll down again. Where did I see it? Because it was about you. There it is. Amatayu Sengupta says, really enjoyed your analysis, Jess, throughout the series. All the best for the WBBL. And John Crenown says, well done, ladies. There you go. So we're really glad that you've enjoyed this, guys. It means a lot to us. A couple of comments about Elise Perry. Darren Katrupi, and it says, why didn't Elise Perry get a bowl? And Menas Live, hello Menas, asks, is Perry finished as an international bowler? That's a big call.
Oh, yeah, look, I think it's a tough one. It's sort of, I think multiple factors were probably at play with this too. I think it's probably one of those things we don't really need to look too much into. It's sort of, you look at the luxury that Meg has had throughout this entire series is the amount of bowling options she has. And I think it's probably a matter too that the series was already sort of sealed from the Australian point of view, that tonight was as good of a time as any to be able to give some of those, I guess, less experienced bowlers those opportunities to bowl in those sort of times. That it's sort of, like doing it in the nets is all well and good, but getting the opportunity to do it in a game, there's no better time to do it. And I mean, at the same time, Elise was absolutely elite in the field again tonight. That I couldn't imagine it would be an injury sort of concern, because she was moving pretty freely out there. So whether it's a workload thing, having played last night, that I know there's sort of been a thing with the fast bowlers in Australian cricket that there's only a certain amount of days in a row that you're generally allowed to bowl, and we can't forget that they're just coming off a test match as well, and prior to that obviously 14-day quarantine, as well as a pretty significant lockdown in Sydney and Melbourne. So a lot of factors at play, I think, and I definitely don't think she's finished as an international bowler by any means. She's also coming back from a pretty significant hamstring injury last year. So like I said, plenty of factors at play, but it wouldn't surprise me if she has a really massive impact during this WBBL with both bat and ball. And then, that'll really put her in a really good spot leading into the Ashes and the 50 over World Cup coming up. She'll be another pivotal person in that side, like she has been for the last however many years now.
Yeah, I mean, the next 12 months is huge, because you have got the Ashes, got 50 over World Cup and the Commonwealth Games. Let's not forget that that's next year as well. So that's probably the biggest year in terms of the amount of international cricket played that I think Australia probably have ever had. It's quite amazing. So, she has also reinvented herself several times in different roles, hasn't she, as a cricketer? Now, one thing I really wanted to bring up, I've actually written about Meg Lanning's cut shot. I've written that, you could put your entire fielding team sort of somewhere between deep point and deep third, and she will still find a way to get the ball to the boundary fence. That is it. She could be a teppanyaki chef if she wasn't a cricketer, the way that she cuts. It's amazing. Oh, I'm so excited that I've actually pulled out my earpieces.
I mean, it's as good of a cut shot. It's as good of a cut shot, but you just got to make sure the stumps are out of the way first.
It was amazing. I mean, she was really, really deep in her crease. Do you think she just lost her awareness?
Yeah, I think so. It's probably one of those things that she might have worked on. Obviously, last night we saw her be dismissed by Gaikwad as well, but that was when she was advancing down the wicket and she was sort of edged it and stumped, so she was out a couple of times in the one ball. So I think potentially a plan for her tonight was to try and play deep in the crease, and I mean, she never would have anticipated she was that deep in the crease, and it's sort of such a bizarre way to get out, but sometimes it's the only way you can get some of the best players out is if they hit their stumps or they step on their wickets. So one of those ones I think that you can look back on and just have a bit of a chuckle about eventually. But Yeah, I don't think she was very happy in the moment.
Is that the sort of thing? Is that the sort of thing that she'll get a bit of a razzing from her teammates about at some once she's sort of calmed down and put it behind? Is that the sort of thing that she'll be reminded of?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was probably one of those things that, yeah, you sort of just get a vibe that she needed a little bit of time to sort of process what had happened. And I think because she was hitting the ball pretty well as well, that she was sort of just starting to build an innings and knowing that that's such a strength of hers. And I think what becoming only the seventh female cricketer to be dismissed that way in an international. So, I mean, she's a record breaker in a number of ways. So why not add another record to it?
Why not? Look, we touched on the field, and there's a series as a whole, and I can see a question there from Rahul Nataki, who says, what do you think it would take for India to get better at the one percenters, fielding, finishing, handling pressure? What do you think? You've been part of that Australian setup for a long time. What makes the difference?
Yeah, well, I think for us, we're very fortunate in the sense of the amount of resources that we have around us. And I know a lot of the international players that come over for WBBL just sort of come over and have underestimated the level of quality that our WBBL competition is. And even some of the English players who have come over have made that comment as well. And they're another one of like the best teams in the world. So I think that the domestic structure for us really plays a part. And obviously, yeah, it's probably another um, push for and some good evidence to back up the start of a genuine women's IPL in the coming years. That was, I guess, sooner rather than later would be the ideal thing, I think, for Indian cricket, but I guess also cricket globally. That it's such a massive part. Cricket's such a massive part of the Indian culture, and it's such a massive driver of it globally. So I think the domestic structure really plays a part, but I think also giving these players the opportunities to go and play in other competitions around the world as well, and just seeing how other places and other countries sort of operate and do it. And yeah, I think, like I said at the start, like we're very fortunate with the resources that we have, and I think that, yeah, that's something sometimes that a lot of the other countries don't sort of have that luxury.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing to hearing about how you get on with Poonam Yadav, of course, at the Brisbane Heat. It's so good that some of the players are staying out here. I did notice on commentary tonight they were talking about can't Pujavastraka stay out here as a reserve. We called that first. I'm just saying we called that first. At least keep her out here on a holiday. Who has stood out for you, or some of the players who perhaps underperformed or overperformed throughout the series?
Yeah, well, I think like to start with the Indian squad, I think for me, one of the biggest revelations, even looking right back to the ODI series, is Meghna Singh. Um, Obviously for us, I guess globally, it's like she's someone we haven't seen a lot of, and we don't really get to see a lot of the development players in that Indian side. So to be able to see players like her and her ability to swing the ball and how much she sort of had the Australian top order in trouble in that second ODI. Yeah, I mean the level of depth that India now has in their pace bowling attacks is something I think they should be really excited about, particularly coming into this 50 over World Cup in New Zealand, where the conditions are conducive to swing bowling. So I think that, yeah, for me, she's been a real. She was a real standout, particularly in that ODI series, from her ability to swing the ball. But I think too, you sort of with the Australian team, you can't really go past Talia McGrath.
Mm.
In my mind, she should be the player of the series in terms of her contributions to the team. But not only that, it's contributions under pressure.
Mm.
And for somebody who game wise and number of games for internationally, she's quite inexperienced. she didn't show that one bit. She's such a cool, calm, and collected person, and she really showed that and stuck to her strengths. And we sort of saw that even right through to tonight, where she just sort of jumped across in front of the stumps and accessing different areas, and then obviously, yeah, leaning back and having that booming cover drive as well. So she was someone that really took the opportunity that was presented to her, and she just ran with it. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she's there, part of the Australian 50 over World Cup side.
Yeah, she's certainly made a real staked a claim for it. Smriti Mandana has kind of emerged, really, I think, too, hasn't she? Just as far as the standout batter, she made a half century in all three formats, and of course looked really good while doing it, which is probably really annoying. How important is she? Because we did see on both sides some of the perhaps big names like your Harmanpreet Kaur, or your Elisa Healy, even Meg Lanning didn't sort of make big runs. It's given others. It's sort of been up to some others to actually sort of step up, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a funny series in that sense that for both teams, I think it's been a really great opportunity for both teams to really expose some of their less experienced players and really put them under the pump and expect, I guess, more from them. That I guess showing and proving that you can't always rely on the so-called big names of your team to do the job sometimes, regardless of where they're ranked in the ICC rankings or whatnot, that sometimes it's a genuine team effort. And a lot of the planning and stuff from some teams might go into these big name players, but then if you're a solid performer yourself, then yeah, it's sort of you really fly under the radar and can really catch a lot of sides unawares. And I think, yeah, like someone like Smriti Mandana, she's just been consistently building through her career over, I guess, the last couple of years, that she just burst onto the scene. And from my perspective, I love a classy left-hander, being a lefty myself. But yeah, some of the shots that she plays, she's so strong off the short ball. Tonight, when she finally got going, she took some of the spinners over the top down the ground, and she's just, when she's on, she's one of the cleanest strikers of the ball that there ever is. So yeah, she's still quite young as well. So that's really exciting for this Indian side, that yeah, she's just sort of going from strength to strength, and she's a force to be reckoned with now, and she's only going to continue to get stronger.
Yeah. Do you know the shot that gets me? I mean, I must be on a cut shot thing. But when she played that cut shot and she rocks back and her toe comes up, and it just looks so casual. There's just something about that front toe lifting up. I could watch that all day. Look, there's a comment about Talia McGrath from Anupam Purohit, who says there is so much resemblance between Talia McGrath and Nat Siver, important all-rounders for their team. So that's a big rap on Talia McGrath, because Nat Siver is an outstanding player. But when you look at these two sides, then India have made the last two World Cup finals. Yeah, that's not the last two. I keep getting them mixed up in my head. They were in the last 50 over World Cup final, in the last T20 World Cup final, and now obviously you've got the 50 over one coming up. A lot of their players are going to get time in the Big Bash. Australia's going to have that series against India, as well as the WBBL. How close are these two sides, do you think, going into the 50 over World Cup? And does winning this series still give Australia that psychological edge of thinking, look, we can beat them? Because it's felt like for so much of this series that India have been a bit unlucky, and rain has kind of robbed them in some ways of the opportunity to win some games.
Yeah, look, I think both sides will take some positives out of it. I think for India's perspective, the fact that they really sort of, yeah, dominated for a fair chunk of this series, although the results sort of didn't sort of go their way. So it's sort of, yeah, the fact that they sort of could, I guess they took that game, they broke Australia's winning streak in the ODI format. That would have been a huge tick for them. Large majority of the test match, they were on top, and yeah, it's sort of the weather was just not on their side sometimes. But in saying that as well, I think the Australian side will probably take a lot more confidence out of it, in the sense that knowing that they were sort of under strength throughout the entire series, with, I guess, myself, Shooter, and then Rach Haynes, our vice captain, obviously out as well for a large majority of the series, and having these younger players come through, and someone like Talia McGrath, who really stamped her authority across, I guess, all three formats as well. And it really sort of proved to the Australian setup, I think, that our depth is even greater than we initially thought it was. So I think, yeah, both sides will take a lot of confidence out of this series, regardless of the overall result of it.
Yeah, well, we're very much looking forward to the build-up with that. Of course, the next series, the international series, will be Australia taking on England in the Women's Ashes, and I can't wait for that one either, because I think that is actually going to be a cracker of a series too. And hopefully you'll be back for that, Jess. I mean, you're going to be back for the WBBL, so there's no reason that you won't be back for that one. Great work by you throughout. I've really, really enjoyed having you on here, and Shooter as well. You've been brilliant with your insights, and I know that people watching have really enjoyed it as well. So I'm glad to hear that you've had a bit of fun doing it. That's good. You've enjoyed it, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been great. It's sort of it's something for me that, obviously, it's never nice when you're missing a series, but to still be able to stay involved and I guess talk through cricket with you as well, sort of almost, it's almost felt like every second day, which has been great. So yeah, to be able to still be involved in the series, and I guess, yeah, sort of give people a little bit of an insight that they might not necessarily have at other times. It's been really enjoyable for me, and something that I guess I'd love to continue if the opportunity presents itself. But as long as it means that there's no more injuries, then yeah, happy to do it.
Hey, well, you're always welcome on here. Look at that, Warren Dermott. Great chat. Thanks, Jess. Yes, very much thanks to you and to all of you who have joined us. I'll give someone who has been here, I think, for every show we've done, is Rahul Nutaki, who says the biggest revelation of this series is JJ on analysis. Such an astute cricket mind. Absolutely loved having you here, Jess. She's there blushing.
Thank you. Thanks, Rahul. That's so kind of you.
It certainly is. Thanks all of you for joining us throughout it. We've really enjoyed bringing it to you. And Jess, good luck in the WBBL. I'm from New South Wales, but I stay neutral in all these things. But I hope you have a great season with the Heat.
No, thank you. I'm excited that game time for me is finally just around the corner.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. I'm looking forward to it. Only a few days away till it all starts now. So I'll be watching you on the television this time. But in the meantime, I hope you all get ready to tune into the WBBL as well and watch Jess in action, and you can feel like you know her a little bit better now. But until then, enjoy the rest of the week and enjoy the cricket. And I will see you back here with something very, very soon. Until then, bye-bye.